you. When I was growing up, my parents rarely displayed affection for each other in front of me or my three sisters. The kisses we saw were always brief, glancing, friendly affairs, really just brushes on the cheek, and they were always reserved for special occasions, birthdays, anniversaries. And our reaction, the kids' reaction, was always the same. We'd giggle, laugh, and clap. It was so incongruous. That wasn't who my parents were. Our relationship with our parents was, well, they were just parents. And when I say just parents, I mean only parents. They were mom and dad, not a couple. Mom and dad got married in 1942 in the midst of World War II. The war, by threatening to pull them apart, actually pushed them together. It intensified their relationship with a sense of urgency and fear that actually strengthened their love for each other. And that's one of the gifts of adversity, because when what we love is at risk, that's when we fully appreciate how precious is each moment. Now, I have reason to believe that my parents' courtship was a bit bumpy. Unguarded stories over the years lead me to know. My father's mother, Grammy, did not fully approve of my mother. And it wasn't because she was Irish. It was because she wasn't Italian. You had to know Grammy. My father was born in a industrial city, small city in Connecticut. He hated school and loved machinery. He could build anything. He would, any fool could buy something, he would tell us, as he took the toaster or the mixmaster down to the basement to fix. Now, my mother was a Vermont farm girl who loved school, and she graduated from a nursing school near her home and happened to get a job in my father's hometown in a small hospital. They met, fell in love, and married. My father was drafted, and my oldest sister, Marianne, was born as my father's anti-aircraft unit was on its way to Tunisia. And for the next 2 years, the only contact my parents had was through letters that they wrote to each other. And the entire time he was overseas, all those letters were written using the V-mail process. Now that's V for victory, V-mail. Now the V-mail process is an interesting bit of 1940s technology where you wrote the letters on forms, and the forms are distributed throughout the armed services and available at stateside post offices. You wrote the letter on the forms, and the forms were reduced photographically and put in microfilm. It was a great success. You could get 150,000 letters into one mailbag, and this saved cargo space. After the war, my father returned home. They were reunited, and my sister Marianne's reign as an only child was short-lived. My sister Peggy arrived, followed by me, and then by my youngest sister Cindy. And on rainy days, we'd play in our basement, not far from my father's fix-it shop. And we would always find treasures there. And one day we found a treasure that kept us in the basement long after the rain had stopped. It was in a barrel, a sealed barrel, small one, that had always been there, over in the corner by the 100-gallon oil tank that fed our furnace. We pried open the barrel, and it was about half full of V-mail my father had written to my mother. We weren't quite sure what it was, and then we realized it was letters he had written during the war. Now, my father was not a stickler for capitalization, punctuation, or spelling, but what really got us were the pet names he had for my mother and my sister. And it's really upset my sister Peggy because she wasn't mentioned in any of the letters. And she wanted to know why. And Marianne had to say, well, you weren't born yet. It was too deep for me. I didn't understand what was going on. But the pet names just had us howling. And then my mother called us upstairs for lunch. And we grabbed fistful of letters and we ran upstairs and we were laughing about the letters. And my mother was putting the food on the table. My father was sitting in his usual spot at the head of the table. My mother didn't understand the babbling we were doing. And we sat down and we began to read the letters, making fun of the misspellings, the bad grammar, and the poor punctuation, and howling at the pet names they had for each other. My parents didn't know what was going on for a moment. Then they realized what it was. My mother pushed her chair from the table. She stood up and she said, "Those are mine." And we all went. She took the letters, embraced them, went down to the basement. We could hear her come upstairs, but she didn't return to the table. I heard the back door open. I went out to the porch to see where she was. And she was up in the backyard, and about 5 feet in front of her was a barrel of letters burning. She came to the table when the fire was out.